Hi friends, I'm the Bald Guy, and these are Bald Guy Basics. If you're setting up a shop for the first time, if you have experience, you probably should be doing more of these videos than I am, because I'm very inexperienced. When I say I'm a non-professional giving advice to people who aren't professionals, I mean that. But especially if you're a homeowner, a young person that is starting out in the shop, and there are some tools that are optional, but there are some tools that are almost a must when you get to manipulating materials. And the materials that I manipulate typically are wood, leather, and some metal. And especially when I started making knives or handles for knives, one of the things that I found out very quickly I was going to need was some kind of bandsaw. I ended up buying a used bandsaw and a used reciprocating scrolling saw, and both are great. But I had to learn some lessons along the way. So this is not a review of the machinery itself, but it's a review of the equipment that you attach to the machinery. The first bandsaw I got, which is a PowerTech, it's got a 9-inch throat, I think, something like that. It was a really neat bandsaw, but when I got it here and I started, going through maybe a piece of wood that was any thickness at all, if I had to make a cut of length, I could not keep it straight. It literally wandered all over the place. And this is the first blade, and I'll put it here where you can see the width of it, because this is what I want you to notice. This is the first blade, hit me in the face, that I got. And you see how narrow it is in this dimension. Here's the second one, and I don't know if I can do this. Now, this one has a joke to tell about it, but look at the difference in width of these two blades. I found out, I don't know what kind of work the fellow who had this one was doing, but I found out that the thinner the blade, the more that the cut wants to wander. So when I bought this second blade, I was able to make straighter cuts. Now, there is an art to using a bandsaw, so I also found that I could cut materials more easily with better quality blades. So if you're one of those people who, I know somebody else like this, will look at, the $20 one and the $8 one, guess which one I often buy? I don't remember what I gave from this. This is an Olsen blade. And I must say, after I take it out of the box and put it on the machine, I don't go back and read the machine and say, this one is meant for these materials. But I want you to look on this edge. In fact, I'm rubbing my thumbnail and my hand here on the cutting surface. And if you notice by now, you probably have noticed, there are no teeth on this blade. Oh, it came with teeth. Oh, it had good teeth, and it served me well. But at some point, I put some hardened metal on this thing, and I actually made the cut. But I noticed afterwards that my cuts were getting slower and slower, and I wasn't really paying attention until one day I put my hand on it to move the blade while I was readjusting the tension. And of course, I was very ginger in grabbing it because that's where the teeth are. And I thought, I don't feel anything sticking my thumb. The teeth are gone. So the Olsen blade that I got has been very serviceable when I use it within the parameters that it was designed for. So be very aware if you're going to be dealing with metal, especially tempered metal and steel. I'll tell you what I cut, and I'll tell you why I cut it. Let me reach right over here. I had an old set of bed rails that we had taken a bed apart, and somebody said, I might want that. So my wife said, of course, keep that around the house. And they might want it. Well, it turns out they didn't. So I finally said, honey, if there's no other use or no other person you want to give this to, I'd like to have it. So what I made, and you can even see I wrote on there, I made a grinding jig that I can clamp a knife to by simply cutting through each end. You know what I found out? You take a grinder, an angle grinder, and you can cut through this a lot quicker than you can with a bandsaw. But you live, you learn. So when you're buying equipment, I guess my lesson for you today is don't be afraid to buy old equipment. I got a $200 bandsaw for $75. I don't know what the scrolling saw would have cost new, but it didn't cut well either. But when I went and got some better quality blades, it made the thing work I have no complaints. My bandsaw could be better, but you would have to buy a better bandsaw. And I'll do a review and we'll examine the bandsaw and what it can do for you in another video. But I'm just telling you right now, if you skimp on the vital elements of your shop, you'll always have crappy stuff and you'll get crappy results. So don't be afraid to buy the better abrasives. I found the same thing out with abrasives. On my sanding machines, I've got a 1x30 sander and then a 6-inch wide belt sander. And, you know, God bless them. I use a lot of Harbor Freight stuff, but sometimes it pays better to spend the extra money. And there are so many retailers on Amazon now, you can find anything that you need for your equipment and they'll send it right to your door. So just a little lesson for you today from the Bald Guy, hoping that you're having a good day. We are at the tail end of this end of July heat wave, and that's why I'm inside in the shop. The heat index yesterday was over 100 and it's headed that way again today. So just kind of we call it cobble notching, just kind of cobble notching around the shop and noticing some things that we could do for you to share with you. So keep that in mind and buy yourself, if you've got a saw, a piece of equipment, a drill even, that is not performing up to your expectations or your needs, try your attachments, I guess is the best word. I was looking for the word consumables. In other areas, those are the things you're gonna use up and change out. Blades don't last forever. Drill bits don't last forever. But I'll tell you this: you buy a don't want to call any names of. Well, I'll call some names from the past. Back in the day, we had Kmart, and before that, Grant's Department Store, and those places put cheap tools out there, and they're probably good for one job. But I've got tools that I spend a little more money on that I've been using for years, and it makes all the difference. So change your consumables, and you might find that your even basic entry-level equipment can do a pretty good job if you give it the right tools to do the job with. All right, that's all for the day. If you like it, please hit like, hit subscribe, and we'll be sharing more videos to come.